Physics in football. Football, also known as soccer in the United States, is ranked as the number one sport in the world with over a billion fans. A typical football game consists of 11 players on each team, 10 field players, and one goalkeeper. The duration of the game consists of two 45-minute halves with a 10-minute halftime. At the end of the 90 minutes, there is also a stoppage time, which is an estimated time accumulated throughout the game for substituting players in and out of the game, and for stoppage time for injured players. One thing that makes football unique is that it is one of the few sports that does not allow the player to use their hands. The goalkeeper is the only player that is allowed to use their hands, but only inside the goalie box. Also, when the ball is being thrown in bounds by a field player. One thing that some people may not think about is the physics involved in playing football. When playing football, Newton's laws of motion are involved, as well as the Magnus effect and the law of conservation of energy. One aspect that is applied when playing football is Newton's laws of motion. Newton's first law of motion states, every object in a state of uniform motion tends to remain in that state of motion unless an external force is applied to it. Newton's first law of motion is applied throughout the entire game of football from the minute the starting whistle blows. As the ball is kicked by one player, it travels at the same speed and direction it was kicked until another force, in this case friction, acts upon it. As the ball travels across the field, its speed will gradually slow down due to friction. Newton's second law of motion also applies throughout the entire game. Newton's second law states, the acceleration of an object is produced by a net force and is directly proportional to the magnitude of the net force in the same direction as the net force and inversely proportional to the mass of the object. As the player kicks the ball, the force applied causes the ball to accelerate from a speed of 0 to a speed of greater miles per hour. Another aspect of physics that applies to the game of football is the Magnus effect. This is typically seen as the player is taking a free kick, which is allotted to a player when a foul has been committed from the opposing team. The Magnus effect is the force exerted on a rapidly spinning cylinder or sphere moving through air or another fluid in a direction at an angle to the axis of the spin. In 1997, Roberto Carlos, a professional Brazilian footballer, sent a free kick 30 meters spinning and curving through the air into the goal. As Roberto Carlos kicked the ball off center, he caused the ball to spin. The friction between the ball and the air causes the air to react in the direction of the spin of the ball, causing the ball to undergo topspin. This causes the velocity of the air around the top of the ball to become less than the air velocity around the bottom of the ball, because the tangential velocity of the ball in the top half acts in the opposite direction of the airflow, and the tangential velocity of the ball in the bottom half acts in the same direction as the airflow. The resultant airspeed around the top of the ball is less than the airspeed around the bottom of the ball. Therefore, the pressure is greater on the top of the ball, causing a downward force to act on the ball. So as Roberto Carlos kicked the ball, he kicked the ball left of the center of the ball. The Magnus effect acts right, causing the ball to curve right. There are multiple forms of energy used when playing football, such as chemical, thermal, kinetic, and potential energy. Energy is defined as the ability to do work. So the chemical energy used in our bodies as the player moves around the field and also as they kick the ball. As the player kicks the ball, they are using 4 different forms of energy. First, the chemical energy in the player's body is used to kick the ball. Then the energy is transferred to the ball as one kicks the ball across the grass, resulting in thermal energy due to friction from the ball and grass. This thermal energy due to friction is then transformed to mechanical energy. There are 2 main forms of mechanical energy: kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy is defined as the energy of motion. The ball uses kinetic energy to follow the direction in which the player kicked the ball through the air until all the energy has been converted to potential energy, specifically gravitational potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is defined as the energy stored in an object as the result of its vertical position or height. The kinetic energy of the ball is converted to gravitational potential energy when the ball begins to fall back towards the ground due to gravity. As the ball reaches its maximum height, it will have the most gravitational potential energy because at this point, the main force acting upon the ball is gravity. As the ball starts falling back toward the ground, gravitational potential energy is then converted back to kinetic energy because the ball is then in motion. So in conclusion, the different aspects of physics are seen every day, especially in the sports world. Newton's laws of motion, the Magnus effect, and the transformation of kinetic energy and potentially are only mere aspects of how physics plays a role in the game of football. But they are also involved in playing other sports, such as baseball, American football, basketball, and weightlifting. Once one is able to comprehend the physics involved in the sport they are playing, they may be able to enhance their abilities in the sport as well. For example, when playing football, if a player understands the physics involved in taking free kicks, which is the Magnus effect, they'll be able to modify the way they take their free kick, such as adjusting the point where they kick the ball, such as adjusting it off-center, causing the ball to curve. Also, as technology advances and engineers consider physics involved in sports, they're able to engineer newer and better quality accessories used in sports. For example, when playing football, engineers are constantly designing new balls, allowing for decreased friction due to the grass or air, as well as making the ball easier to spin and curve as it is struck by the player. So as players understand the importance of physics in their sport, they will continue to better their own abilities as well as advance the sport as a whole, making it far more competitive.